Welcome back to Murdoch Fitness. This is the first of a series of 3 videos intended to help you develop a critical eye towards your weightlifting form or technique. In other words, I'm trying to help you basically learn how to criticize and analyze your performance in the gym in order to get better at a certain lift. So let me start by saying that I pretty much try to make all of my squat, bench, and deadlift reps technically perfect. And that's because I intend to lift max weights efficiently with those movements. From warm-up weights to working sets, I try to execute the same rep every time, the idea being that practice makes perfect. On that note, there is a broad line between acceptable lifting form and total perfection. Not every rep you do needs to be perfect, but you will always benefit from being mindful of your form in general. Good technique is fundamental for staying safe in the gym, avoiding injury, and making the most out of your exercise selection. It's worth mentioning that perfecting your form will set you up to perform better over time, allowing you to make the most of your workouts. If you're having issues increasing load or feeling muscles work with certain exercises, it may be useful to film yourself lifting so that you can review your mechanics. I've been filming myself lift for 2 years consistently now, and I find it very beneficial for making decisions both during a session and when I'm writing programs. This video is a peek into the process I use to watch and critique my lifts. The first big component of lifting technique I consider when training or working with a client is body positioning through the course of an exercise. Most of the exercises we do in the gym have 3 main phases: a starting point, a phase of motion through an exercise's ROM, and a finishing point. I consider each of these 3 phases when assessing the way an exercise is performed. In general, the first thing I make sure of is that a lift's starting and finishing point are close to identical. Most lifts in the gym will start and end with the body in the same position. Look at this squat set, for example. I start standing with the legs locked out and the hips stacked, and I end the movement in essentially the same position. If the beginning and end of a rep are identical each time, it's likely the case that the exercise mechanics are being performed consistently in the same way as well. The movement phase is the second aspect of an exercise I look at, and the one I pay the most attention to. How does the movement as a whole look? Does it accomplish the task at hand? What specific positions are achieved to complete this movement? Is there a more efficient sequence of positions we should try? Let's return to the squat. I tend to look at 2 particular positions within the squat movement pattern: positioning at the bottom and positioning through the sticking point, or the point where the hips are extending. It's basically the middle of coming up out of the squat. To successfully get out of the bottom of a squat, you have to generate force against the bar by pushing into the floor. This requires balance from the foot up, which requires a great degree of muscular coordination and full body tension. When I'm reviewing the bottom position of a squat, I'm starting from the foot. Is the foot flat on the ground? Are heels or toes coming up, or is everything pretty even? If the feet look good, I move to the hips and the legs. Are the hips and thighs handling the load evenly, or is one taking more than the other? Finally, I look at the torso angle. The spine should be neutral. There will likely be a natural forward lean, but there shouldn't be excessive rounding or extension. The back should appear flat and rigid. It's important to note the torso angle here, as torso angle will be the point of focus for the sticking point position. As we ascend from the bottom of the squat, the torso angle should not drastically change as the core muscles brace the spine. If there's too much lean out of the bottom, there's a high risk of failing a lift or getting hurt. If we're losing torso positioning through the sticking point, it's likely the case that back or core strength is a point of weakness, and that's helpful for picking out accessory exercises or things you should work on to improve your performance on a lift besides just that lift. Understanding how the body moves through an exercise and how to detect differences from rep to rep if there are deviations gives us a lot of information we can use to assess a lifter's technique. This is only one piece of the puzzle, however. In my next video, I'll discuss bar path and bar speed, which are 2 related variables I use to coach myself and other lifters in addition to reviewing biomechanics. Until then, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Thanks.